Hello everybody, I'm Chris Alheit. As is our custom, we make a low production value video just to explain the new wines to you guys. These are props, so they're older vintages, just so we have the labels for you to look at. Let me tell you a little bit about the 2022 vintage. The 21 rainy season was great. We had a lot of rain. Vineyards were very happy because we'd come off a bit of a drought. And the spring was also rainy, so the result was on our dry farmed bush vine vineyards is that we had big canopies. We had a lot of growth in the shoots and lots of leaves and lots of grapes. So it's a big woody structure. And then end of January through early Feb, there were 3 consecutive heat waves. So the plant responds by translocating potassium into its sap and into its bunches. So what we ended up with in 2022 was quite similar to 2014. High yields, well, for us high yields, we're talking about going from 1 to 2 tons a hectare to between 3 and 4 tons a hectare. So not high, but for us high, which we were very happy about because in the years leading up to 22 we'd had so little. So it was a big party in the winery that we actually had grapes to work with. In fact, we ended up pressing, for a winery that normally presses around 150 tons in a good year, we pressed just over 200 tons. So, we were struggling for space in the winery at one stage, but it's a good problem, I guess. So the real challenge of 22, because of what I've just described, was for all the winemakers in the Cape, was acidity and pH. Those things sound quite boring, and it's because of potassium translocation that I've just described, because of the heat waves and the big woody structures of the plants. I would describe the vintage as, especially after a vintage like 19, even 20, 21 was good again, a string of quite good vintages. 22 would best be classified as a relatively mediocre vintage, and that is very much the test, for a winery and for a winemaker to see what they can do in a middling vintage. So yeah, it's I'm going to have to try to get through this video without sounding self-aggrandizing or a bit full of myself, but I'm just so pleased with what we've done in 2022 and what we can release to you guys. Very, very, very happy with the wines. 2022 is also a vintage where the majority of the winemakers that usually would never acidify their wines probably did, and it's yet again for you guys and for us an example of if you've got the right vineyards and you're doing your best with the agriculture, etc., and careful in the winery, you do not need to manipulate the juice to make very good wine. So we did not acidify our wines in 2022, and I wonder if we're not one of the very, very few wineries that got through the vintage without any kind of manipulation. So I'm very proud of that fact. Obviously because I'm just so clever and great, in case you haven't noticed yet. Right, so let's talk about the 2022 wines. Here after here, that's obviously our least expensive wine, and as you know by now, it's a home to catch new vines that we're planting on our own property, and we've got some growers with terrific young Chenin vineyards. They're all bush vines. In 2022, because we had such an abundance of wine, just between you and me and whoever else watches this video, there's a very, very good chance that a fair bit of very nice old vineyard wine may or may not have slipped into this bottle. So it represents an exceptionally good deal, especially at the mailing list shop prices. I had an MW here a few days ago tasting through the wines with me, and he really loved this wine. It's very charming. It's got lovely sort of apple and pear notes on the nose, just a gorgeous palate. There's quite a lot of granite soil wine in here, and you can really feel that in the wine. So I think stock up on that for drinking in the spring and in the summer. And if you're bored in the winter, you can just drink it. It's fine. Okay, and now I think the real winner of the vintage is cartology. Again, the inherent advantage with cartology is that I have options. I've got my 9 or 10 favorite old Chenin vineyards that we use to make up this wine. So yeah, I'm able to really pick and choose. And as I said, we had a very full cellar in 22, and I was able to cull or effectively throw out a great deal of wine in order to carve out the wines that you have before you now. and yeah, blending cartology this year was actually quite exciting because, you know, as we got closer and closer to the finish line, we could see that we were actually sitting on a very, very nice wine despite the vintage. So I'm particularly proud of cartology. I think you're really going to like it. Very different in personality to 2021. You'll remember the 21s are very finely etched, quite delicate wines, fine boned, nice acidity. The 22s are definitely across the board, with the exception of Fire by Night perhaps, are more robust, more fruit forward, more immediately charming, slightly lower acidities than 21, but I still think wines that will age quite well. So cartology 2022, yeah, very charming, beautiful fruit, quite a bit of stone fruit. Yeah, and that usual sort of old vine gravitas on the palate. Oh, that was a big win for us. So enjoy yourself with that. You know, despite the fact there was a big vintage, the production on cartology is the same as last year effectively, and the year before. So we're not making a lot of cartology. I'd way prefer to make more year after year than more cartology. Cartology is really a wine for us that's critical to maintain the quality at a very high level. So yeah, I'm very, very selective with what goes in there. All right, single vineyard Shannons. There are 4, but they're not 4. There are 3, but we'll get to that in a minute. Fire by Night. That's our own farm. This is quite similar to the 2018, which was very tight and restrained at bottling, as is this, but it's got the same sort of green citrus and fynbos and thatch type of notes on the nose, and that like very taut, long, pithy palate. So this is a wine that'll absolutely certainly age extremely well. Morning, Francois. Hey, how's it going, man? Good. I just need another 7 or 8 minutes. I'm just making a ski man. That's a sommelier friend of mine, Francois, so he'll be in this video. All right, so Fire by Night. Yeah, pithy, taut, very, very Paardeberg, quite linear, very pretty this year. Nautical Dawn is perhaps going to steal the show. It was a very, very good vintage for the Valsberg coast of Stellenbosch, because I've described the heat waves of January and February, and being right next to the sea, these vineyards escaped the heat waves. So fantastic pH and acidity with good ripeness. In fact, it's the yeah, I mean, it's the only one of these wines that you can say this place really had a terrific vintage in 2022. The Valsberg coast of Stellenbosch, the whites, had a very, very good vintage. So yeah, like beautiful yellow fruit, like salted lemon, pineapple, classic sort of salty driving acidity, different kind of salinity, even though they're both granite soils. This is sort of brilliant and I don't know, sort of kind of thrilling and citrusy. This one is a little bit, how do you describe it? Salty, yeah, and very energetic, I think is a good word for it. Okay, onto the Scoofbach Shannons. So, Hailkrans, as you know, it's been on a hiatus since 2019. We had terrific drought in the vineyards, and we're not able to bottle wines from Odam Farm for quite some time. And whatever we did get went into cartology because it's terrific. And with the higher yields in 22 and the vineyards making a big recovery, hallelujah, we were able to bottle a Hailkrans 22, which I'm absolutely thrilled with. A lot of that typical Scoofbach, bitter grapefruit, yeah, citrus blossom, and that strange Scoofbach rusty sort of salinity. It's a lovely wine, and it's a bottle of sunshine, you know. So very happy that with the preceded family that we were able to get a wine into bottle again. And of course, cartology, also because we had good yields up here, has been blessed with quite a bit of Scoofbach fruit this year. Right, so now the one sore point of the vintage, and I'll try to make it quick. You might remember Radio Lazarus 2013. Close to the last minute, I declined to release the wine because I felt that I'd missed the pick, and I cared so much about that label and about that, you know, that vineyard, that I didn't want to release a wine that would, you know, that would break that social contract that we have together, you and I, you know, of what you buy from us that says Alheit Vineyards and that has a Radio Lazarus label, and it needs to be quite something. And Magnetic North has become one of the, you know, the really, I'd say, according to the critics at least, one of the most special white wines from the New World. And even though we've bottled one, I've tasted it very carefully again yesterday, and I've made a decision, which was an agonizing decision, not to release the 2022 Magnetic North as Magnetic North, because it is such a meaningful label. It's meaningful to many of you, to many South Africans, to obviously myself, and to the Van Lille family that farms that land. And may your thoughts and prayers be with them. The patriarch of the family, Barcy Van Lille, has passed away this morning as I make this video, so please keep Rita and Christian in your prayers. So I've decided not to release 2022 Magnetic North. It's a good wine, it's a very good wine, but I mean, if you think about the 19 and the 20, those things were just on another level. So I'm sitting on a very good 2023, and I'm going to need to you're just going to need to wait a little bit for the 23. It's really something. So what we're going to do with the 22 wine is later in the year, you guys will remember these white label wines that we do just for the mailing list, like Gang After Glay and Wine Dark Sea. We'll do a white label wine for what I have bottled from the Magnetic North Vineyards at a lower price, and something to stock your cellars with for the summer. That's my decision, so I hope you understand it. It's really made just to protect the integrity of the wine and the wine's reputation. I think that in the long term is far more important than short-term monetary gain. La Colline or Monument Semillon, the MW that I tasted with 2 days ago, yesterday, said he feels this is the best vintage we've had from this vineyard. I tend to agree. It's just, Monument's always quite textural and deep. This is that, but this is also very bright and energetic. So it's another part of the world that actually did shine in a difficult vintage, was this old Franschhoek vineyard. Really a beautiful example of the vineyard, and it's got that Nachi peel, marzipan character that it often has. And then the always wonderful Himmelrand Vine Garden. Again, Himmelrand's close to the ocean. It's in a much cooler area than the Swartland and the Skurfberg, so the heat waves were negligible here. So we have a wine with very good ripeness and pretty intense acidity, as always. It's a bit riper than last year's Himmelrand. It's just over 14 degrees of alcohol, but again, the Chardonnay and the Roussanne dominate the wine. It's it's exotic and lovely and quite intense. You'd need a meal, I think, with this wine. It's demanding and totally unique. I think in the world of Cape wine, there are very few wines like that. So that's a summary, guys, of our 2022 wines. Enjoy your shopping experience. And I suppose just a parting word is, I appreciate the fact that you trust us, that you trust us to buy our wines, and because I understand that in the South African context, not cheap. In the global context, they're a laughably good bargain. In the South African context, they're not cheap, and thanks for trusting us to put very good wine into bottle, no matter what the vintage, and buying Alheit Vineyards wines. Thanks.